But at the end of the day, they don't have a dude. You got to have a dude. You got to have a 1A dude. And they're missing that at the end of the day if we're just getting down to brass taxes.
Jalen Brunson.
No, he's too small.
But here's the thing, and that's
Didn't they say about you?
But you know
they
what?
Say that about you if you're a Hall of Famer.
You know what?
I got a philosophy. Can I say my philosophy?
Go ahead.
If your best player is small, you're not winning. John Stockton, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, you could go down the list.
Drop whatever you're doing right now because this NBA story is absolutely blowing up. Jalen Brunson just captured an NBA championship, and now people are paying attention to his response after years of criticism from Becky Hammond. For a long time, doubts followed Brunson everywhere. Critics questioned his size, questioned whether he could lead a team, and questioned if he could really be the guy on the biggest stage. Those comments stayed in the conversation for years, but that's not even the craziest part. While people were already talking about Brunson's championship run, one of his own teammates jumped on Instagram Live and accidentally revealed details that had fans going wild online. Suddenly, old takes, old quotes, and past criticism were being dragged right back into the spotlight, and it kept getting messier. Fans started pulling up receipts, resurfacing comments, and debating who got it right and who got it completely wrong. Even Draymond Green ended up getting pulled into the discussion, adding even more attention to the situation. At one point, there was even a public apology directed at Brunson on live television, and NBA fans couldn't stop talking about it.
Becky's a savage, too. But I appreciate Becky, no cap. There's a word she said about can't win with JB being, 1A, 1B, he too little. All that did is fuel that nigga, bro. I don't give a fuck what y'all say, what he say. I know him.
So stay locked in because this story has all the ingredients of a major sports comeback. By the end of this video, you'll see why so many people are calling this one of the most talked about redemption stories in recent NBA history. For anyone who missed it, Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks just won the 2026 NBA Finals. They defeated the San Antonio Spurs 4-1, bringing the Knicks their first championship in 53 years. That's more than 5 decades of waiting. And Brunson didn't just help win the title. He took home Finals MVP after dropping an incredible 45 points in the championship clinching game. What a statement. That's wild. But here's where this story gets bigger than basketball. This isn't just about wins and losses anymore. It's about a player hearing doubts for years, staying locked in, and then proving people wrong on the biggest stage imaginable. To understand why fans are talking so much about this now, we have to go back to December 2023. At that point, the New York Knicks weren't viewed as championship favorites. They were sitting near the top half of the Eastern Conference. But plenty of analysts still had questions about whether the team had enough star power to make a serious title run. During an appearance on ESPN's NBA Today, Becky Hammond shared her thoughts on the Knicks and whether they had a player capable of leading them all the way to a championship. Her comments quickly grabbed attention because they centered around one major question. Did New York have a true number one option? That's when Kendrick Perkins pushed back and pointed directly to Jalen Brunson. He argued that Brunson was exactly the type of player who could lead a team deep into the playoffs. But Hammond wasn't convinced. Instead of backing away from her position, she doubled down and made it clear that she had concerns about Brunson's ability to be the best player on a championship team. One of the comments that sparked the biggest reaction was when she said, "He too small." If your best player is small, you're not winning. Steph Curry is the only dude. That quote spread fast across NBA circles. Fans immediately began debating whether size really mattered that much when it came to winning at the highest level. At the time, some people agreed with her analysis, while others thought she was seriously overlooking Brunson's skill, leadership, and impact. Either way, those comments didn't disappear. They stayed in the background for years, and after everything that's happened since, they're getting a whole lot more attention now. Now, to be fair, there was some logic behind the argument. Throughout NBA history, several legendary guards who weren't the biggest players on the court, guys like Allen Iverson, John Stockton, and Steve Nash, put together incredible careers but never won a championship as the clear top player on their teams. So the discussion about whether smaller guards can lead a team to a title wasn't coming completely out of nowhere. But what caught people's attention was the certainty behind the criticism. Instead of presenting it as a debate, some comments made it sound like the outcome was already decided. For many fans, that felt like a tough label to place on a player who was already putting up huge numbers and proving himself night after night. At that stage, Brunson was averaging around 25 to 27 points per game and continuing to elevate his status across the league. And here's the thing, those comments didn't just fade away. The clip stayed online, got shared over and over, and followed Brunson for years. Every big performance brought them back into the conversation. Every playoff win gave fans another reason to revisit what had been said.
I'm going to tell you now because I want to tell you their face, but then I'll say it publicly after. But I'm going to apologize in one game. So I'm going to say it right now to your face, I'm sorry. Then I'll say it when you go get your ring. One game, I apologize.
But Becky Hammond wasn't the only prominent basketball voice expressing doubts. This is where the story started feeling much bigger than a single hot take. More analysts, commentators, and former players weighed in, creating an ongoing debate about whether Brunson could truly be the centerpiece of a championship team. One of the most talked about voices was Draymond Green. During discussions on his podcast, he questioned how far the Knicks could realistically go and argued that the team's success had been helped by the landscape of the Eastern Conference. He also suggested that the league's very top tier of franchise-changing superstars was a small group, mentioning names like Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Kawhi Leonard. According to that viewpoint, only a handful of players fit the mold of a championship-driving superstar, and Brunson wasn't commonly placed in that category at the time. Those opinions sparked major debate across the basketball world, with supporters and critics going back and forth nonstop. Looking back now, that's exactly why these old takes are getting so much attention again. And then came the moment that made this whole debate explode. Draymond Green essentially put the challenge out there. Prove me wrong. In sports, that's always a risky thing to say because if a player actually delivers, those words can come back around in a big way. Fast forward to Game 4 of the NBA Finals. The Knicks were in a tough spot. The Spurs had momentum, and it looked like New York was running out of answers. Then Jalen Brunson took over the game in spectacular fashion. What followed turned into one of the most talked about performances of the postseason. The Knicks battled back from a massive 29-point deficit, shocking fans and completely changing the energy of the series. Brunson was making huge plays when his team needed them most, knocking down difficult shots and keeping New York alive possession after possession. One of the biggest highlights came when he connected on a three-pointer over Victor Wembanyama, who stands an incredible 7'4". The pressure was sky high, but Brunson kept delivering. As the game reached its dramatic finish, Brunson hit a clutch floater to help put the Knicks in position, and OG Anunoby followed with a game-winning tip-in at the buzzer. The arena erupted as New York escaped with a stunning 107-106 victory and grabbed a commanding 3-1 series lead. Then came a moment that instantly started circulating across social media. While working the game for Inside the NBA, Draymond Green spoke directly to Brunson on national television and said, "I want to apologize in one game, so I'll say it right now to your face. I'm sorry. And then I'll say it publicly after, but I wanted to apologize in one game, so I'm going to say it right now to your face. I'm sorry. And then I'll say it again when you go and get your ring. I apologize." NBA fans couldn't believe what they were watching. A four-time champion publicly acknowledging that he may have underestimated Brunson before the championship had even been secured. That moment immediately became one of the biggest talking points surrounding the finals run. He didn't wait until the series was over. He didn't wait for the championship celebration. Draymond Green addressed it right there in front of everyone. And when you really think about it, that made the moment even bigger. We're talking about Draymond Green here, a player known for standing by his opinions and never shying away from debate. Whether it's interviews, podcasts, or television appearances, he's built a reputation for defending his takes and challenging anyone who disagrees. That's why seeing him publicly admit he may have gotten one wrong caught so many people off guard. Looking Brunson in the eye on national television and saying, "I'm sorry," wasn't something fans see every day. For many viewers, it showed just how much Brunson's performances had changed the conversation. At that point, his playoff run had become impossible to ignore, and even some of his biggest doubters were starting to rethink their earlier opinions. To Draymond's credit, he later explained exactly why he chose to do it. He said, "One thing I hate is when people make predictions, people make statements, and then once they're wrong, they just lolly on and diddly-daddle off to the next thing. I don't respect that." He made it clear that if he was going to make a strong prediction publicly, then he also needed to be willing to acknowledge it if events proved him wrong. Whether fans agreed with his original take or not, many respected the fact that he addressed it directly instead of pretending it never happened. But here's where the story takes another turn. While some critics openly revisited their earlier comments, fans kept asking the same question. What about Becky Hammond? That's what kept fueling discussions across social media and sports shows. People started revisiting her previous statements and wondering whether her opinion had changed after Brunson's success. The spotlight shifted right back onto those old comments. And what made the debate even more interesting was that there were several major moments along the way when Brunson kept giving critics new reasons to reconsider. One of the biggest came when the Knicks powered past the Cleveland Cavaliers and reached the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 1999. Brunson continued to shine throughout the postseason, earning Conference Finals MVP honors and adding another huge accomplishment to his growing resume. Suddenly, the conversation around him looked very different than it did just a few years earlier. After the Knicks reached another major milestone, reporters quickly brought the topic back up and gave Becky Hammond a chance to respond to all the attention surrounding her earlier comments. Naturally, people wanted to know whether Brunson's success had changed her perspective. When asked about it, Hammond pointed to NBA history and explained where her original opinion came from. She said, "I speak from experience. Allen Iverson got MVP and he lost in the finals. I think the two best teams are probably in the West, but I'm up for being proven wrong. That's the other thing. I think Jalen Brunson is a hell of a player. A hell of a player. I'm speaking historically on the NBA with what I said. I don't know why everybody's so stuck on that." So to be fair, she did give Brunson praise and called him a tremendous player. But at the same time, she didn't completely move away from her original position. Her argument remained centered on historical trends and whether smaller guards have typically led teams to championships. That kept the debate alive and gave fans even more to talk about. Then came another opportunity to address the situation. A reporter asked her directly, "Do you want to clear the air with Knicks fans?" It was a straightforward question, and plenty of people were curious to hear her answer. Hammond responded, "I stand by it. I said what I said. If he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. Good for him, but I do think the two best teams are in the West, and you know who I'm cheering for." That quote immediately grabbed headlines. Instead of stepping back from her earlier comments, she made it clear that she still believed in her evaluation. Fans on both sides jumped into the conversation. Some respected her for sticking to her opinion, while others felt she was overlooking everything Brunson had already accomplished. What made the timing especially interesting was that these remarks came right before the NBA Finals. The Knicks were preparing for the biggest series of their season, and Brunson was about to step onto the largest stage of his career. With expectations rising and attention at an all-time high, every comment carried extra weight. At that point, people saw it one of two ways. Either Hammond had tremendous confidence in her basketball analysis and wasn't going to change her stance under pressure, or she was simply determined to stick with her original take no matter how much momentum Brunson continued to build. Either way, the spotlight on those comments only got brighter as the finals approached. And maybe that was part of what made the whole situation so fascinating, because once the NBA Finals arrived, everything shifted from predictions and debates to actual results on the court. The Knicks went on to defeat the Spurs 4-1, and Jalen Brunson delivered the kind of performance that instantly becomes part of basketball history. He averaged more than 32 points per game during the series, exploded for 45 points in the championship-clinching win, and earned unanimous Finals MVP honors. Every single voter selected him. No disagreements, no controversy, no questions asked. The accomplishment became even more impressive when fans looked at the historical context. Brunson joined an extremely exclusive group as one of the only players 6'3" or shorter to lead a championship team in scoring while also winning Finals MVP. The other names often mentioned alongside that achievement are basketball legends Isaiah Thomas and Stephen Curry. That's elite company by any standard. As soon as the final buzzer sounded, social media went into overdrive. Old clips, past predictions, and previous debates started resurfacing everywhere. One clip in particular, the comments questioning whether Brunson could lead a team to a title because of his size, began spreading across platforms again at lightning speed. Fans flooded timelines with reactions, jokes, and reminders of what had been said years earlier. Some celebrated Brunson's accomplishment by pointing out how dramatically the narrative had changed. Others revisited old takes and compared them to what had just happened on the biggest stage in basketball. The online discussion was impossible to miss. Then another moment added even more attention to the story. Brunson's sister, Erica Brunson, shared the old December 2023 clip and posted a short message alongside it. Now what? Just 2 words, but they hit hard. The post quickly gained traction and became one of the most talked about reactions connected to the championship run. Fans shared it everywhere, and for many people, it perfectly captured how much the conversation around Brunson had changed. But when reporters eventually asked Jalen Brunson himself whether he wanted to respond to critics, doubters, or anyone who had questioned him along the way, he handled it in a completely different way. While everyone else was talking, Brunson stayed calm, focused, and cool under the spotlight. When reporters finally gave Jalen Brunson the opportunity to respond, his answer was incredibly simple. He said, "I didn't respond to them then. I'm damn sure not going to respond to them now." That was it. No long speech, no victory lap, no extended back and forth, just a short response that immediately grabbed attention because of how calm and direct it was. While everyone else was debating old comments and revisiting past predictions, Brunson seemed perfectly comfortable letting his performance speak for itself. And honestly, that's what stood out to a lot of fans. Plenty of athletes, after reaching the top of their sport, use the moment to remind critics what was said about them along the way. We've all seen the interviews where players revisit old doubts, call out doubters, or celebrate proving people wrong. Brunson easily could have done that if he wanted to. After all, he had just delivered one of the biggest performances of his career. A 45-point masterpiece in the championship-clinching game gave him every reason to take a victory lap. Instead, he stayed focused and kept the attention on the accomplishment itself. Meanwhile, social media, fans, and even family members were doing plenty of talking on his behalf. Now, to keep things balanced, it's worth remembering that some people still defended Becky Hammond's original basketball argument. As mentioned earlier, history has often made it difficult for smaller guards to be the leading force on a championship team. That's why some analysts believed her comments were based more on past trends than on any personal criticism of Brunson. Even former NBA star Gilbert Arenas spoke about the situation and suggested that evaluating players through the lens of league history wasn't necessarily unreasonable. Before players like Stephen Curry changed perceptions, there simply weren't many examples of guards at that height, leading teams all the way to a title while carrying such a large offensive load. But here's what kept the conversation alive. For many fans, the debate wasn't only about whether the historical argument had merit, it was also about how confidently the conclusion was presented. The phrase "he too small" became memorable because it sounded less like a possibility and more like a final verdict. That's why the clip continues to resurface whenever Brunson's championship run is discussed. Whether people agreed with the original analysis or not, Brunson ultimately delivered the strongest response possible, winning the title, earning Finals MVP, and putting together a postseason performance that forced the entire basketball world to take another look at the conversation. And because those comments were never fully walked back, fans are still bringing them up every chance they get. So at this point, the story had taken on a life of its own. Draymond Green had publicly apologized, Becky Hammond was still standing by her original position, and Jalen Brunson wasn't giving people much of a reaction at all. That left fans wondering about one big question. What was Brunson actually thinking through all of this? Did the criticism motivate him? Did he pay attention to it? Did those comments ever bother him behind the scenes? For a while, nobody really knew. Brunson wasn't saying much, and he certainly wasn't giving detailed answers to fuel the debate. Then just a couple of days after the Knicks won the championship, something completely unexpected happened. Knicks forward Mikal Bridges jumped on Instagram Live, and what followed quickly became must-see content for basketball fans everywhere. Now, before we get into it, you need to understand that this wasn't your typical, carefully planned live stream. The entire thing felt unpredictable from start to finish. Bridges was celebrating, joking around, and creating one memorable moment after another. At one point during the stream, he even stopped and laughed about the time, saying, "It's 11 a.m., what the heck am I doing?" The energy was all over the place, and viewers couldn't stop watching. The live stream turned into a mix of championship celebration, random stories, and behind-the-scenes moments from the Knicks' title run. Over the course of the stream, Bridges bounced between topics non-stop. He sang songs, joked with viewers, showed off parts of his signed jersey collection, and shared stories involving teammates and people around the organization. Fans got a rare glimpse into the mood surrounding the team after winning it all. He also talked about the focus the Knicks reportedly maintained throughout their playoff run. According to Bridges, there had been a strong message about staying locked in and avoiding distractions while chasing a championship. Looking back at how the season ended, fans were fascinated by every little detail he shared. Then there were the completely random moments that made the live stream unforgettable. One minute he was discussing basketball, the next he was dancing around, talking about food, and giving viewers a look into his daily routine. The stream felt less like an interview and more like fans hanging out with a player who was still enjoying the excitement of becoming an NBA champion. The funniest part might be that Bridges was casually talking about things like his longtime food order and random championship celebrations, and it all seemed like a laid-back stream for fans. Nobody logged on expecting a major headline to come out of it. This was supposed to be a victory celebration, a chance to relax, joke around, and enjoy the moment after winning an NBA championship. But somewhere in the middle of all the stories and laughter, the conversation suddenly took a turn that caught everyone's attention. While discussing the criticism that had followed Jalen Brunson throughout the past few years, Bridges brought up Becky Hammond, and here's what surprised a lot of people. Instead of piling on or joining the wave of criticism aimed at her, he actually spoke about her with respect. Bridges made it clear that he viewed Hammon as a serious competitor who stood by her opinions. Rather than attacking her for the comments, he suggested that she was simply expressing what she genuinely believed at the time. That alone was enough to get fans talking. Then came the moment that really sent social media into overdrive. Bridges said, "I appreciate Becky, no cap." The words she said, that they can't win with Jay being the 1A, that he's too little, all that did was fuel him. I don't care what anybody says, what he says, I know him. He's not going to tell you all this himself, but he knows what she said, and it fueled him to go be great. And just like that, the entire conversation changed. For months, people had been wondering whether Brunson paid attention to any of the criticism or whether he simply ignored it. Bridges' comment suggested something very different. According to him, Brunson absolutely heard what was being said. More importantly, those comments may have provided extra motivation behind the scenes. While Brunson publicly stayed calm and refused to engage in the back and forth, Bridges hinted that the criticism wasn't forgotten, it was remembered and used as motivation. That's why this live stream became such a huge talking point. In a matter of seconds, Bridges gave fans a rare glimpse into what might have been happening behind closed doors. Suddenly, The story wasn't just about old predictions being proven wrong. It was also about how criticism can sometimes push great players to reach an even higher level. So if Mikal Bridges' comments are accurate, then the picture becomes a lot clearer. According to Bridges, Jalen Brunson heard the criticism, remembered it, and carried it with him the entire time. But instead of responding publicly or turning it into a media feud, he kept everything quiet and focused on his game. That's what makes this story so interesting. On the outside, Brunson looked completely unfazed. Whenever reporters brought up critics or old comments, he stayed calm, gave short answers, and refused to turn the conversation into a personal battle. He never seemed interested in proving people wrong with words. He wanted to do it on the court. Meanwhile, Bridges was out there revealing what he believed was happening behind the scenes. His comments suggested that those doubts may have stuck with Brunson throughout the season and playoffs, serving as extra motivation during the biggest moments. Whether it was practice, preparation, or game day, Bridges painted the picture of a player who quietly used criticism as motivation without ever making it part of his public image. And then the live stream got even more entertaining. Bridges kept talking about Brunson and started joking around in a way that had fans cracking up. At one point, he began making goat noises, GOAT as in greatest of all time, while praising his teammates' championship run. The compliments didn't stop there either. Bridges was so excited that he started talking about how much Brunson meant to New York and jokingly suggested that the city should build a statue of him outside Madison Square Garden. That's the kind of energy the stream had, completely unfiltered, completely spontaneous, and absolutely hilarious. But here's the part that made fans lose it. Brunson was aware of what was happening. Clips from the live stream were spreading everywhere, and people were sending them to him non-stop. Then, after being quiet on social media for months, Brunson finally decided to react, not to the championship, not to the criticism, not to the debates. Instead, he posted just 4 words: "Somebody take Mikal's phone." That's it. 4 words, and the internet instantly loved it. The response perfectly matched Brunson's personality, low-key, funny, and completely avoiding the drama. While everyone else was turning the story into a huge discussion, Brunson found a way to laugh at the situation without diving into any of the controversy himself. I'm still laughing at that whole sequence. Imagine staying quiet on social media for months, winning a championship, earning finals MVP, and then finally deciding to post again, not about the title, not about the celebration, but because your teammate is saying way too much on Instagram Live. That's comedy at its finest. And honestly, that reaction told fans a lot. Brunson didn't jump into the debate, didn't start explaining himself, and didn't offer some long response about motivation or criticism. Instead, he kept it light and joked about Bridges being online. For many people watching, that made the moment even better because it fit perfectly with Brunson's calm personality. The situation quickly became one of those moments that the entire team seemed to enjoy. Players were reacting, fans were sharing clips everywhere, and the live stream kept generating attention long after it ended. What started as a casual championship celebration suddenly turned into one of the most memorable behind-the-scenes moments of the offseason. Even Karl Anthony Towns joined the fun. After seeing everything unfold, he went on X and praised the live stream, calling it one of the greatest Instagram live sessions ever. The reactions showed just how much fun the team was having after accomplishing its ultimate goal. The atmosphere felt less like controversy and more like a group of champions enjoying the moment together. That's an important part of this story. Despite all the debate surrounding old comments and predictions, the vibe around the Knicks seemed focused on celebration rather than conflict. The players were enjoying the championship, joking with one another, and creating moments fans won't forget anytime soon. Now let's put the whole timeline together, because it's pretty wild when you look at everything from start to finish. Back in December 2023, Becky Hammond publicly questioned whether Jalen Brunson could lead a championship team, pointing to concerns that had often been discussed throughout NBA history. Those comments immediately sparked debate and stayed in the conversation for years. The clip kept resurfacing as Brunson's career continued to rise. Then other basketball voices weighed in as well, including Draymond Green, who expressed doubts about where Brunson ranked among the league's elite franchise players. Suddenly, the pressure, expectations, and discussions around Brunson were bigger than ever. And through all of it, Brunson stayed quiet, kept working, and let his game do most of the talking. From there, Jalen Brunson put together a playoff run that completely changed the conversation around him. Game after game, he delivered under pressure, helped lead the Knicks through the postseason, and moved one step closer to proving that he belonged among the league's elite players. As the finals unfolded, New York grabbed control of the series, and the doubts that had followed Brunson for years started looking weaker by the day. One of the biggest moments came when Draymond Green publicly acknowledged that Brunson had exceeded his expectations. Before the championship was even officially secured, Draymond offered a direct apology on national television, a moment that quickly became one of the defining storylines of the finals. Meanwhile, Becky Hammond was asked about her earlier comments multiple times. While she gave Brunson credit and referred to him as a tremendous player, she also made it clear that she still stood by the reasoning behind her original analysis. Her now famous "I said what I said" response only kept the debate alive as the postseason continued. Then came the ultimate payoff. The Knicks finished the job, captured the championship, and ended a 53-year title drought. Brunson was named unanimous Finals MVP after an incredible series, including a spectacular 45-point performance in the title-clinching game. His accomplishment placed him in extraordinarily rare company alongside legends such as Isaiah Thomas and Stephen Curry. And through all of it, Brunson stayed remarkably consistent while fans, analysts, and social media users debated every angle of the story. He refused to turn it into a personal feud. His response remained simple: "I didn't respond to them then. I'm damn sure not going to respond to them now." Instead, much of the talking was done by the people around him. His sister's viral "Now What" post became an instant fan favorite, and then Mikal Bridges' unforgettable Instagram Live added another unexpected chapter to the story. According to Bridges, the criticism may have stayed with Brunson the entire time and served as motivation throughout the journey. And when that information started spreading online, Brunson didn't argue, didn't explain, and didn't make a big statement. He simply joked, "Somebody take Mikal's phone." At that point, the story had everything. Years of debate, public predictions, unforgettable performances, viral moments, and a championship ending that nobody could ignore. You've got the superstar who stayed cool under pressure and let his performances speak for him, and you've got the teammate who turned a casual Instagram Live into one of the biggest behind-the-scenes reveals of the entire championship run. The contrast between those personalities is part of what makes this story so entertaining for NBA fans. And honestly, that's why so many people connected with it. Sports fans love seeing a player face doubts, hear criticism, and then answer those questions through results instead of endless arguments. There's something powerful about staying focused, putting in the work, and letting success become the response. For years, people debated whether Brunson could reach the highest level as the leader of a championship team rather than spending time responding to every opinion. He kept improving, kept producing, and eventually found himself holding the biggest prize in basketball. That's what made the ending so satisfying for many fans. Instead of getting pulled into constant back-and-forth discussions, Brunson allowed his accomplishments to tell the story. The championship trophy spoke loudly, the Finals MVP award spoke loudly, and a 45-point performance in the title-clinching game spoke louder than almost anything that could have been said in an interview. What's also fascinating is how differently everyone involved handled the outcome. Draymond Green, known for being outspoken and confident, chose to publicly acknowledge that he may have been wrong. He addressed it directly and didn't try to avoid the conversation. Becky Hammond took a different approach. While she gave Brunson credit and praised his abilities, she continued to stand by the reasoning behind her original opinion. Even as the debate intensified, she didn't completely abandon her position, and then there was Brunson himself. Out of everyone involved, he probably had the strongest case for taking a victory lap. He had just achieved the ultimate goal and delivered one of the defining playoff runs of his career, yet he remained calm, gave short answers, shared a joke or two, and largely stayed out of the spotlight surrounding the controversy. In a story filled with opinions, predictions, debates, and reactions, the loudest statement ended up being the one made on the court. 3 different people, 3 completely different ways of handling pressure, criticism, and being proven right or wrong. That's what makes this story so interesting. On the surface, it's an NBA story, but it also shows how different personalities react when the spotlight gets turned all the way up. From Becky Hammond standing by her opinion, to Draymond Green publicly owning his mistake, to Jalen Brunson staying quiet and letting his game do the talking, every part of this saga brought something unique to the table. Then you throw in Mikal Bridges' unforgettable Instagram Live, and you've got one of the most talked about basketball stories of the year. If you made it all the way to the end, shout out to you. This entire situation had everything: big predictions, old clips resurfacing, championship moments, viral social media posts, and a finals MVP performance that completely changed the conversation. What a ride. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, make sure to smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more stories like this. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think Becky Hammond owes Jalen Brunson an apology? Or was she simply giving her honest basketball opinion based on history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I already know that debate is going to be active. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. If you're into wild sports stories, shocking moments, unexpected twists, and all the biggest headlines from around the sports world, you're going to want to stick around. Thanks for watching, thanks for the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.